Hello and welcome to the RG10 podcast. In 1989, a group of 11-year-olds in Wargrave decided that they wanted to start a drama group. They called it Wargrave Entertainment Drama Group Enterprise, otherwise known as WEDGE. A couple of years later, Wargrave Theatre took the group under its wing and they became the Junior Workshop and just more recently, Wargrave Youth Theatre. Many of the founder members are still very active within the group, including Chez Annetts, who runs the theatre. I've been speaking to her about the latest production, but I started by asking her to reminisce about the earliest shows.
Of the early ones, the one that we didn't actually put, I think we did something for Wargrave Festival that year, which bombed completely because we didn't really know what we were doing. We were 11. But once we became part of Wargrave Theatre, a lady called Anne Roberts was the lady who came and took us over, and she's actually chairman of Wargrave Theatre now. We did things like Then Boots Ain't Made for Walking. I remember being on stage about 12, playing a 6-year-old. I was very short. I still am very short, actually. I could easily play a 6-year-old. And trying to eat red teddy bears, gummy drops on stage whilst trying to say my lines was fun. But we've done so many productions in the last 30 odd years, and not one of them has been repeated, I don't think, actually, if I think about it.
Wow. How hard has it been to keep it going over those years? Have there been any dips, or has it always gone, from strength to strength?
It's never dipped. That's part of our problem, actually. We are volunteers mostly. And certainly in only the last 2 or 3 years, we've been able to bring people in to and give them some kind of numeration or something. But otherwise, it's all been volunteer based. So we are relying on people who are working full time, like myself, who can give up an evening or two a week. And in those 35 years, the waiting list has just grown and grown and grown. And as I speak, we've got a waiting list of over 75 children. And people don't leave until they leave to go to university. So we might have 1 or 2 spaces a year to be able to give to people. But in all that time, we've always had a very long waiting list, which I feel really bad for the kids that are sitting there. And I have emails from parents going, hey, can my child come and join us this week? And I'm thinking, no, they're number 37 on the list still. I'm so sorry. But we are a measure of our success. Our productions are very highly rated, which is wonderful within the village. But it just means we can't. If I could do this 5 days a week, 5 evenings a week, if I could do this for a living, I would do, because we could then accommodate much more children and have, just help so many more people.
And I'm speaking to you, just a few days really until you do actually go live, if you like, with your latest production. How do you, I take it for granted that you're incredibly stressed with it at the moment, and I presume the kids are as well. How do you manage that? Is that, sorry to become too serious about it, but is it something you've had to become more aware of over the years, what with more, I guess, awareness of people's mental health, things like that? Or am I, drawing too long a bow there?
I would say, actually, I'm the only one who's stressed.
Well, that's brilliant. That's great. That's well on you.
Children seem to be absolutely loving it. I mean, I do try and choose plays that, they're going to enjoy doing. There's no point in doing a play where they're dreading coming to rehearsals every week. So everything I do, I make sure they've either been involved in. So the last show we did this time last year, the children actually helped me write. So they had a real interest in how it was received because they helped write it, the show and things. This particular time, they're just enjoying what they're doing. But that's the whole point of it. It's just me that takes on all the stress. I'm in these last 2 weeks are the period where I have extreme excitement about what we're about to do and absolutely terrified at the same time.
And go on then, what is the latest show?
So November 22nd and 23rd, Friday and Saturday, we are doing something called the Best of British. We spent the summer looking at some of the most iconic TV and drama scenes from the last 60 odd years and workshopping what we thought was funny, what we thought was good, what we thought we understood, which was a really steep learning curve. And we've come up with a show that involves, say, the last 60 years worth of comedy and drama scenes. So if I said things like, Sir, I have a cunning plan, or it is an ex-parrot, or perhaps don't tell 'em, Pike, gives you an inkling of where we're going. But we're also looking at stage shows, so Matilda, anything written by a British writer, Joseph, Billy Elliot and Blood Brothers and so on.
Yeah, here's something that not many people may be aware of unless, they work in your in your sphere, if you like, but getting the rights to put this kind of thing on. How do you go about doing it? I know it's a headache.
So with certain scenes, they are out of print. I started off with contacting all of the writers. Fortunately for me, a lot of them were co-written or part of actually Richard Curtis, which is Tiger Aspects Productions, who is also he's the main writer behind The Vicar of Dibley, Blackadder, and so on, and also Four Weddings and a Funeral. He owns the rights to just about everything he's written, and he allows amateurs to recreate everything he's done. The only thing he asks is that a donation of comic relief is done. So that has been extremely helpful, where everything else has been actually really hard to identify if anybody actually cares who owns the rights. So, you know, they're not in print anymore. If they are, there's no script to go and buy, because normally you buy a script and in the front of it, it says published by, owned by, and that's who you contact for rights. So where we've not been able to find things, we've had to emulate the scripts. So recreate the characters within a different scenario, if you see what I mean, but keeping some of those iconic statements that you're going to recognize.
So tell me, have there ever been any on-stage or off-stage disasters that you can reveal?
There was one show that we did called The Snow Queen, where my new husband was being involved, and he was put on the rollers. A roller is a piece of scenery that goes up and down via a large rope. And the beginning of the scene, we had two children sat behind the roller on a table and chairs, and they were a brother and sister waiting, having breakfast. That was the first scene. And the theme tune finished, the audience were ready, the roller went up, and as the roller went up, it revolves backwards. So it caught the cardigan of the young lady who was sat on the stage as it went up, and it kept going up. And I told him that as it went up, it would get a bit heavier. So he interpreted the sudden weight that the roller was having. He just needed to pull harder. And I'm at the other side of the stage going, stop it, put it down. Because by this point, she's 2 foot off the ground, spinning underneath the roller. And you could hear her going, put me down. And it was just, at that time, You've Been Framed was quite iconic on the TV. And I'm sitting there thinking, if anybody's filming this, they're going to think this is brilliant. You know, this is £250 in the pot.
Chez, thank you so much for your time. And let us know once more where you can get tickets, when it's on. What's the name of the production?
So it's The Best of British. It's at the Woodcliff Hall in Wargrave on the 22nd and 23rd November. And you can buy tickets on www.wargravetheatre.co.uk and just go to the buy ticket slot.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
That was Chez Annetts from Wargrave Youth Theatre. Thank you for listening to the RG10 podcast. You can catch all of our previous episodes on the various major podcast platforms, and many of them on YouTube as well. So do dip in. They're all inspired by life around here, so they're bound to fit into your zone of interest. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.